Good evening. In our news bulletin for tonight, Premier Sir Tokitalangi makes comments about Niue's involvement in preparations for Prime Minister Bill English's pending visit. Confirmation of another dengue case means Niue remains on dengue alert, and blood tests sent to a lab in New Zealand have now determined the strain present in Niue. Miss Niue Aotearoa has made a trip to Niue to return to her cultural heritage roots. Whiniani Hakupua tour did not disappoint as they hosted a spectacular village show day on Saturday. Premier Sir Tokitalangi has made some public comments that allude to Niue's relationship with New Zealand only days before Prime Minister Bill English is due to arrive on the island. Prime Minister Bill English took office in December of last year after serving as the Deputy Prime Minister for 8 years. This particular Pacific mission will mean that Pacific leaders will meet a new Prime Minister, a new Foreign Affairs Minister, that is Jerry Brownlee, and a new Pacific Affairs Minister, Alfred Ngaro. For the delegation, this will be an opportunity to re-emphasize the diplomatic relations with leaders in the region. Amidst preparations for this visit, however, Niue's leader has expressed disappointment about Niue's involvement in the hosting of the Prime Minister and an element of disrespect from his perspective.
I find it a bit strange that the Prime Minister is coming next week. He's supposedly to be my guest, but I'm not allowed to host him. You're hosting him. I find that very strange. And although I've been working with you very closely on this, the fact of the matter is that if he's here as my guest, I'll treat him as my guest. Instead, he's taking me down to Marawai for lunch. For goodness sake. Does he like Niuean food? I think next time you and I are going to have a good talk about this to make sure that you understand my feelings with respect to that. It shows a degree of disrespect for the people of Niue, and I'm not happy about that. And I know you're going to go away now and talk to your people in Wellington and tell them what the Premier said. Good on you, but I want you to do that because I don't want them to treat us like that. In fact, as I understand it, he's not allowed to go swimming or fishing because he can't swim. He knows how to chase sheep, but he can't swim. Is that right, Ross? No? It's all right. Anyway, that's an aside. In the next week or so, month, we will be passing the budget. The budget will enable us to allocate the financial resources that we need to ensure that we can help people and the villages as well as the people. I'm very happy indeed that we have also managed to get some assistance from other countries other than New Zealand and Australia, our traditional partners, and I'm very pleased and thank them. But we're also now able to get assistance from Korea, India, Japan, and some of the other countries that we have established diplomatic relations with.
Premier Talangi's comments at the Hakupu Show Day have been received by government officials in Wellington and will no doubt be part of discussions during the leaders' bilaterals. Niue has made no secret of the desire for a chair on the United Nations Council to further exert its sovereignty, despite the special relationship in free association with New Zealand. Prime Minister Bill English is in the Cook Islands at the moment and will be arriving in Niue for a few hours tomorrow morning to open the Matawai Extension and Conference Centre. The Prime Minister's Pacific Mission tour has started and they will move on to Tonga after Niue. Niue remains on dengue alert with a new case confirmed on Thursday last week, and the Health Department continues with their awareness campaigns and appeal to the community to help control the spread of dengue fever. There have been interventions by the health sector, but this will only be effective if people also play their part. We spoke to a health representative to gauge what the status is for the dengue fever alert in Niue.
Up until last week, Thursday, we had another confirmed case of dengue fever, which is our 7th case thus far from the first initial cases that we have reported. So we have also confirmation from the ESR lab from Wellington to confirm the typing for the dengue virus that we have, and the confirmation shows that it's dengue serotype 4, and the virus is from Papua New Guinea. So at least we now know where the source is from. But I guess the main aim for us is for the community to continue to destroy all mosquito breeding places at this time, and for those who already have the virus or the disease, to try and restrict their movements and to stay at home, especially in the peak hours at 5 in the morning and 7 o'clock in the morning, and then 5 o'clock in the afternoon, for them to stay in their own homes to try and not pass on the disease to others who have not yet been infected.
Now that the type has been determined, that will help the Health Division as they monitor the situation on island. These are also messages for those who have already been affected by dengue during the last outbreak that may also be vulnerable to this new strain.
2012, when we had the outbreak of dengue, we had serotype 1 and 2. So type 4 means that anyone who has had come in contact or who has had dengue virus 1 and 2 can also get type 4. So those are the ones who will be at high risk of developing dengue hemorrhagic fever or dengue shock syndrome. So they're going to get the symptoms will be worse off than just getting the dengue type 4 now. So we have already today discussed with our team to actually go back to 2012 and have a look at all the cases who have had dengue fever type 1 and 2 at that time, so that we can also monitor them if they going to be infected with type 4 this round, so that we know that they are at high risk of developing dengue hemorrhagic fever or dengue shock syndrome. I guess the message that we have been sending out to the community from the time we have the first cases was for us to not to continue to try and destroy all mosquito breeding places from our homes, and not just rely on the mosquito spraying program, because the spraying program is just a minor portion of our prevention program, but we need to be also doing our part in our homes.
There have already been discussions to identify whether it would be necessary to close down schools, but that is a decision that will be determined at a later date. The focus at the moment is to remind those who have symptoms to go to the hospital for tests and to limit their movement until the fever subsides.
We need to re-emphasize to those who already have dengue virus at this time, not to go out into the community or visit your families when you have fever, or because it's easier for the mosquito to bite the one who's already infected and pass it on to the others. So the lifespan of the mosquito is 30 days, meaning if I have the dengue virus and the mosquito bites me, then it's the mosquito will be able to pass it on to any other person within those 30 days. So it's important for us to emphasize to those who already have it to please try and limit your movements, and just to stay at home during the peak hours, which is at 7 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And if they do have the symptoms, please don't hide it, to come forward and see the doctor so that we can be able to help where we can.
Also, for those travelling abroad, they have been advised to be mindful of the diseases or outbreaks that are present in those countries they are travelling to, and to take the necessary precautions to avoid bringing any of those mosquito-borne diseases back to Niue. Miss Niue Aotearoa 2016 to 2017, Shoni ONF Webster has made a special trip to Niue to reconnect with her cultural heritage and family. This is part of her journey as the winning contestant in the pageant for Niuean girls in New Zealand. Shawnee has been on the island for more than a week, and we caught up with her briefly at the Hakupu Show Day to find out how things were going or progressing with this trip.
The first week I was relaxing with family, just going places that I didn't go when I was here before. Recently I was at a primary school. I was one of their guests. On Thursday I went to one of my auntie's classes, Moe, and I talked about myself, talked about my career and everything. I came last year in March, and because at home there's nothing really there as Niuean, there's not much function to go, and I was happy so much to come back home to view my island. I love my island here. I'm from the roots. I love Niuean. What made me join the pageant was to build my confidence, give it a go on things, get to know my culture more, and just learn about my culture. Confidence, more of learning more about my culture, language as well. I didn't used to speak Niuean, but now I can speak Niuean when I come back and understand it more.
Since claiming the title, Shawnee has made several appearances as an ambassador for Niue at Niuean functions in New Zealand, and returning to Niue has been another experience in itself. The timing of this trip coincided with the Hakupu Show Day, and it just so happens that Shawnee's ancestors are from Hakupu, so this has been a special experience.
This is my first time at the show day, and I love it. It's good to come together as one community to celebrate Hakupu Show Day and any other show day. It's good to come together as one.
We wish Shawnee all the best for the remainder of her reign before she hands the crown to the next winning contestant at the Miss Niue Aotearoa pageant in October this year. Whinione Hakupu Tour did not disappoint as the village hosted their village show day on Saturday. There were more stalls this year covering all four sides of the field at Tuasea, and a lot of people turned up early to buy food and see what the community had managed to prepare for the day. During the formalities, the new village Member of Parliament Michael Jackson was able to express his gratitude to the village for their support and togetherness in making the day possible. He also acknowledged the former MP, veteran politician young Vivian, for his dedicated service representing the village for more than 40 years. Each year, Hakupu people from abroad make this special trip to join in the annual event, but for some families, they have timed their family events for unveiling of headstones to also coincide with timing of the show day. There was a short presentation from the family of Kalaisi Fulau, who offered a trophy of acknowledgement for members of the Hakupu community for their commitment and services to the community. And this award went to Mr. Young Mene Viviani for his years of service, not only as a former MP, also as a former Premier, but his contributions to the church and the community at large. The agricultural produce this year was plentiful, but local farmers commented that the challenge now is to get more young people involved and to continue these long-held traditions. The women of the village also put their creativity to the test with handcrafts and fabric creations as well as woven works. The little babies and toddlers left many in awe as they paraded around during the baby show wearing cultural outfits. And the children and youth of the village kept the crowds entertained with a mixture of Pacific and Spanish-inspired dances before ending the events with sports. Another great effort from Whinione Hakupu Tour, lifting the bar for other village show days yet to follow. And that concludes our news bulletin that we have for you this evening. We do hope you can join us for our next news bulletin.